This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from the new media production studio. The lead stories today: a new UEFI rootkit has been in the wild for 6 years. Not good news for Windows users. A YouTube tool has been released, allowing creators to create shorts that are kind of like TikTok. Hackers are set to screw with BMW's heated seat subscription model. And California wants to make cheap insulin. I want to welcome you to episode 1614 of the Geek News Central podcast for Thursday, July 28th. This show is sponsored in part by Godaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from Godaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com / Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com / GoDaddy. You can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com / insider. Hey, I want to give a warm welcome to all the news shows. Thanks for being here. Make sure you get over to geeknewscentral.com. Check out all the great content. Subscribe and follow to the show. Sign up for our newsletter. That's a way to stay connected. That way you'll get the show notes delivered directly to your inbox immediately following the publishing of the show. Of course, you can always reach out to me directly via email, geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com, or on Twitter @geeknews. You can always participate in our chat room. Join our chat room at geeknews.chat. That sign up is free. Let's get a little bit of action over there. Or our Discord channel. That link is in the show notes as well. You can always follow me on Facebook. That's an easy thing to do. That way you can stay abreast. And of course, we want to make sure that you take advantage of checking out our partner shows. Our partner shows, again, are all at geeknewscentral.com. And whether it be the new media show, the Gadget Professor, the GNC Week in Review with Scott and Kirk, definitely check those shows out. I want to thank all of you that are checking those podcasts out and following the partner shows. Of course, this show is sponsored by the longest running continuous sponsor for podcasts. That's our good friends at GoDaddy. And again, GoDaddy's been here with us for a very long time. And they've been here since June of 2005. And I'm going to be honest with you, we love them. So we hope you will too. So definitely check out the GoDaddy promo codes I've got available for you. These are non-expiring codes. Whether it be a 30% off new product purchase, again, 30% off a new product purchase, or $4.99 for a .com new or transfers for new customers only. We've got a $1.99 a month economy hosting for the first year, includes a free domain name, or $2.99 a month managed WordPress hosting, again for the first year with a free domain name. We've even got that great GoDaddy website builder, your choice of personal business or business plus plans. That's a 1-month free trial. All of these codes, again, can be found at geeknewscentral.com / GoDaddy. Geek News Central listeners save an average about 94% per purchase on GoDaddy hosting accounts, an average of $3.50 on each GoDaddy domain names. Again, why are you supporting us? That's really the crucial piece. Your support keeps my podcast online, allows me to pay our writers, allows me to pay the rent, electricity, insurance, everything that we do here. And there's not great margins on this, don't get me wrong, but it allows us to do what we do and continue to do it. And again, you're supporting a small team of independent content creators by using one of the promo codes, and you'll support us in that effort. Thank you for your support. Share these codes with your friends, family members, people that you know. And of course, if you subscribe to the podcast, that's also a great way to support the show and share it with your friends as well. So we want to thank GoDaddy for their longtime sponsorship of the podcast. We want to thank all of you for staying with us, being here, and supporting a sponsor all this time. So a little bit about what's going on here. It's been a busy week, but I'm going to get even busier here come Sunday afternoon, or Sunday about midnight, because the podcast award nomination time period closes. And then we've got a week to review all the nominations, validate all the data, and then we've got an announcement that happens on Sunday the 7th. And what's really kind of crazy is that what is going to happen there is I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be gone the 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So I've got to get this all done early and reviewed very, very quickly. So it's going to be a very, very busy time for me over the next week. But heavy preparation is going on here during my normal workday for multiple product announcements. We've got 4 to 5 that we're announcing before Podcast Movement in late August. The weather here in Michigan has been a little bit rainy, but largely beautiful. But I do want to give congratulations to my nephew, Zachary. He swore in today to the Air Force Reserves. I was there with his mom and dad to observe the swearing in. Congratulations to him. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. He's going to be going into Intel. So I'm excited, not Intel chips, but intelligence. So I'm excited about that. So again, congratulations to him for his swearing in to the Air Force Reserve. Also, we did get our first, well, I think it's not the first, but because someone had boosted before, but we got some sats from Bisaya Podcast, and he had sent an information basically saying, hey, thanks for recommending Fountain. There was one from before as well. Let me go back. And I got one from Sir Spencer, 333. What else was there? A few. So some of you, 100 sats from Windeer as well. That was 3 weeks ago. So I apologize for not putting this out and letting people know beforehand, but we did get some boost. So boosting is a great way for you to get an easy message, guaranteed message to the show. And I know some of you are experimenting with it, and it's real easy to do with the Fountain app. So I talked about it in the last show. Hope you take advantage of that. Go over and grab the Fountain app and get it set up, and you can boost the show. At some point, we're going to be able to do something that's called lit. We're going to be able to send out a bat signal that says, hey, the show is live. And on those apps that support it, instead of seeing the podcast, you'll actually be flipped into a live stream screen right in the app. And so I'm really excited about all of that forthcoming. So again, lots of stuff going on here. We're playing around with this new Podcast 2.0 technology, and I hope that you'll follow along. Try that Fountain app. I've replaced Apple Podcast app for the Fountain app. I'm that satisfied with it. And plus, I earn sats. Now, let me make one thing clear. I am not promoting crypto as an investment vehicle. So just let's be clear. I'm not a advisor. I'm not talking about stocks or any of that thing. It's only as a vehicle to support the show. And you can put a token amount of money in there to be able to boost and send messages to the show and be able to participate as part of the community. It's the same thing about sending an email to geeknews@gmail.com. It's the same type of thing and participating in our live stream here today. Andrew has already checked in and said hello. It's a quick way to tie in to the community. And that's what I want to continue to grow. And I hope that you'll check out the Fountain Podcast app, available on Android or iOS. Give it a try. You'll find the show there, Geek News Central, and play around with it. Have fun with it. It's a new era in podcasting for creators and things that we can do there. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I do want to get right into the tech show. Kirk was out tonight. He's not feeling well. Kirk, I hope you're feeling better. So I went through and did the prep tonight, so this was on me. But the first thing up is an article over at TechCrunch talking about a new tool that that YouTube is allowing creators to turn their own videos into shorts, and they want to wrap up the numbers. So basically, it's rolling out a creator tool And again, it turns existing YouTube videos into shorts in a matter of literally, I guess, minutes, seconds, using the YouTube app on your mobile device. So for those of you who have YouTube channels, definitely think about that. One thing I've been considering, and I've been playing around with, is I've been recording some just random video with a GoPro. I got my drones updated with firmware, and I've been doing some flights and taking some video. I'm really trying to play around with just some random content, and I really haven't got a steady. See, a lot of the very, very popular YouTube channels is like following people in life that are doing something, building a house, sailing around the world. And I just don't know if following me around doing life shorts is enough of an interest. Do you guys think that if I put out a new YouTube channel that was basically the life of me in the podcasting business, in shorts, would be compelling? I don't know. And the thing is, how do I have enough? But I'd be able to shoot enough stuff that wouldn't be boring to make it interesting. Because what do? I come to the office in the morning. I go to work. It's kind of like this routine. It's not something that is crazy special. So anyway, I'm thinking about it. And, what do you all think? geeknews@gmail.com. Love to hear your comments on what you think I could do. And again, I'm just playing around. Nothing that's, but I don't want to start something I'm not going to continue. So let me know what you think in email. In many countries, if you buy a brand new BMW, you buy this beautiful car, and then you get a notice that if you want the heated seats to work, you're going to have to pay $20 a month. It's called Connected Driver. It's already a reality in Korea, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Germany, and South Africa. It has not come to the United States yet, and the recent backlash likely has the company rethinking that expansion because hackers are saying, we're always listening to the customers and finding ways to offer the features they're looking for. As long as BMW makes it possible to activate heated seats, we can look at offering it. And this is a hacker saying this, because people are going to have to pay for heated seats. Who would have thought? Who would thought that you would have to pay for heated seats? $20 for the opportunity to pay for heated seats in a vehicle you bought. Isn't that some kind of beep, 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 beep? If BMW doesn't allow it, then the same feature could be added with a hardware retrofit. So in the end, the driver is always going to be able to get what they want. Paul Smith, content marketing specialist at Burma Tech, a BMW coding firm, told Motherboard in an email. But again, the Connected Drive store in the UK offers company adds selected features which they did not order when the vehicle was built. This functionality is particularly used for secondary owners, as they now have the opportunity to add features which the original owner did not choose. Drivers can also experiment with the feature by activating a short-term trial before committing to a full purchase. And a lot of vehicles, it's much cheaper for them to include all the features and not just hook it up. This isn't a lot of vehicles now, but this is a new thing where they turn it on via software. So it seems odd to me. I will not buy a vehicle in the future that requires, now I understand if you're going to pay for MiFi or if you're going to pay for Sirius XM, that's external services. It's not part of the feature set of the vehicle. But as soon as I have to pay for an additional feature to be turned on, all of a sudden Ford said, hey, Todd, your Edge now has the ability to do self-driving, and you just need to pay us another $2,000 to do that. If that's a one-time fee, I might consider that. But if it's a feature like a heated seat and they want me to pay a monthly fee for that, they can pack sand. I'm not going to do it. What say you? What say you about this particular topic? I'm very, very curious what you have to say, because I think many of you are going to have the same reaction, the same visceral reaction I have. And if you're a BMW owner, maybe that as well. Again, hello, Andrew. Hello, Toby. Thanks for checking in, saying hi during the live on Facebook. We appreciate it. If you're on Twitch, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, make sure you check in as well. But more scary here, and this is really nerdy. Discovery a new UEFI rootkit exposed an ugly truth. The attacks are invisible. And this, to my knowledge, is affecting only Windows machines. Researchers have unpacked a major cybersecurity find. A malicious UEFI-based rootkit used in the wild since 2016 to ensure computers remain infected even if an operating system is reinstalled or a hard drive is completely replaced. The firmware compromised the UEFI, the low-level and the highly opaque chain of firmware required to boot up nearly every modern computer, as a software that bridges a PC's device firmware with its operating system. Again, UEFI, short for Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, is an OS in its own right. It's located in an SPI-connected flash storage chip soldered onto the computer motherboard, making it difficult to inspect, patch. So, because it's the first thing to run when a computer is turned on, it influences operating system security apps and all other software that follows. Kaspersky profiled what's called Cosmic Strand, the security firm's name for a sophisticated rootkit that the company detected and obtained through its antivirus software. The find is among only a handful of such UEFI threats known to be used in a while. Now, this thing's been in existence from 2016, and it's from a Chinese hacking group. And what they're freaked out about this is just now being discovered, and it's been used in a while since the end of 2016. This is long before UEFI attacks started being publicly described. The researcher said, this discovery begs a final question. If this is what the attackers were using back then, what are they using today? Now, there was an earlier variant of the rootkit in 2017 that a security firm detected. Kaspersky and most other Western-based security firms didn't take notice, but new research describes in detail how the rootkit found in firmware works. And this is a great article for the geeks out there, and it just shows you how deep it went and how it really basically says, hey, I own you. And there's no way to get around this without throwing the motherboard out. And the bad thing about this, too, is that it's so stealth. It gets all set up, and then it waits about 10 minutes, and it says, does this low-level call to the internet that isn't even through standard protocol channels. It says, hey, are you connected? And if you are, it grabs some code, brings it in, and infects your machine again. So this is bad. Bad, 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 bad. So I haven't heard this, in this particular rootkit really goes after Windows in a big way. I'm not saying it can't happen to Macs, but it's very, very potential to have a much wider spread across many, many machines, considering that this particular hack is, again, 6 years. Actually, more than that, right? Yes, no, 6 years in the wild. So it's nuts. Now, this is a crazy story. You think about this. All of you know I'm a type 2 diabetic. I take metformin. I have another supplemental medicine I take as well. I have been for 10 plus years. I'm not on insulin of any type, but type 1 diabetics, they have to have insulin. So some of it's now it's become very expensive, and California wants to make cheap insulin. The state plans to roll out what they call biosimilars that mimic brand name versions at a dramatically reduced price. There are 30 million Americans with diabetes, and around 8 million of them take insulin. And Americans who are uninsured or those who have high deductible health plans may pay hundreds of dollars a month for insulin. So what they want to do under Governor Newsom's plan, California would make insulin similar to currently available brand name versions. And they figure that it'll take them about 3 or 4 years to be able to actually get a plant up and running. But in the meantime, they're going to start buying insulin at a reduced price to try to get the cost down between 47 and 95%. So it's an interesting move. Manufacturing insulin is no small task. It's considered a biological drug, one that's made using living cells. Biologics are made of large molecules and are complex to manufacture. By contrast, most current medicines are small molecule drugs that are chemically derived and can be easily mass-produced. To produce insulin, scientists start with large tanks of yeast or bacteria cells modified with a human gene that contains instructions on how to make insulin protein. The yeast or bacteria cells churn out the protein, which is then extracted and purified into vials or injectable pens. It's not just about combining some ingredients and getting chemical reactions. There's a lot more that goes into it. So this is a big deal. Now, prescribing Eli Lilly employs around 5,000 engineers and other scientists to oversee its insulin manufacturing process. So can California bring this down? The 2010 law changed that created a process for the FDA to approve biosimilars. The FDA streamlined the pathway for insulin 2020. It approved its first insulin biosimilar, Semglee, which can be substituted for Latnus in July of 2021. It costs around $100 a vial, while Latnus can be $300 or more. So if you're type 1 diabetic or you're taking insulin, what is your insulin costing you? And what do you think about the state of California getting into the insulin creation business? And they said it's not going to be limited to California residents. They are going to try to make this a U.S.-wide availability. So I'm very, very curious what you have to say about this. So there's an update from space.com on the upcoming Parasit meteorite showers. When, where, and how to see it. The Parasit meteor shower is where you have an increased number of meteorites that are hitting the atmosphere. American spectators can expect to see the greatest number of meteors during the shower's peak between August 11th and 12th. Through 2020, Parasites won't be quite as spectacular as they were in 2021. So, of course, every year the Earth passes through the path of Comet Swift-Tuttle from July 17th to August 24th with the shower's peak. So, we'll see how much the peak is. Now, I remember flying over Afghanistan and watching the Parasit meteorite shower through night vision goggles. It was pretty doggone cool, to be honest with you. On a normal year, you can expect to see up to 100 meteorites per hour. So that's a lot. And we'll see. We'll see what happens this year. So anyway, link is in the show notes. The FTC moves to block Meta's purchase of supernatural VR workout app maker Within. And, of course, Meta's trying to buy its way to the top, an FTC competition official said. So the FTC's filed an antitrust suit against Meta and a block to buy it from buying the company. And the FTC claimed that Meta is already a key player at every level of VR. And instead of competing on the merits trying to buy its way to the top. John Newman, deputy director of the FTC's Bureau of Competition, said in a statement, Meta already owns a best-selling virtual reality fitness app, and it had the capabilities to compete even more closely with Within's popular Supernatural app, but Meta choose to buy market position instead of earning it. They announced to buy it last October. It was a $400 million deal. So we'll see. We'll see where this goes. And Meta has since published a blog post called "The FTC's Attempt to Block Meta's Acquisition of Within is Wrong on the Facts and the Law." You can probably guess the company's stance on the matter. They're going to fight. So about time somebody stop the FTC, stop these companies from buying everything up and becoming a conglomerate. A new U.S. net neutrality bill is only 2 pages long, and that's potentially a good thing. It depends on what you consider a good thing when it comes to net neutrality. They're basically introducing what they're calling the Net Neutrality and Broadband Justice Act, which would, again, label broadband internet providers in the United States as a Title II common carrier, giving the FCC authority to regulate them. Now, considering that the Democrats control both the House and the Senate, and probably the president would sign this, I think they have a good chance of getting this passed. It's being introduced by Senator Ed Markey, Democrat of Massachusetts, and Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon. And can this one pass? According to Markey, 76% of surveyed U.S. residents agree that internet service is just as important as electricity or water. From Senator Wyden's perspective, net neutrality isn't a partisan issue for most Americans. But it's been a polarizing idea in Congress since way back in the Obama administration. So does it stand a chance of passing? The Net Neutrality Broadband Justice Act will head to the Senate committee for debate before it can advance further. With Congress set to go on recess that day, the bill won't be up for discussion for some time, no matter how brief. So we will see, because the halls of the Senate and House of Representatives moves very slowly. At the same time, the House has passed the CHIPS Act. Of course, if you remember, Representative Pelosi's husband bought up a whole bunch of stock, semiconductor stock. So amazingly, the House passed the CHIPS Act, preparing semiconductor bill to become law. All it has to do is go through reconciliation, because it passed 243 to 187 in the House and 64 to 43 in the Senate a day earlier. So the act is dialed down version of previous bills, but promises significant help for American semiconductor manufacturing, offers more than $52 billion for U.S. chip makers, as well as tax credits for domestic factories. In a statement, the president claimed the bill would lower product costs, create high-paying jobs, and reduce the country's dependence on foreign chip sources. I'm going to be very frank. There's not a lot that I like about what there's so many bills that go through that's insane. What is insane is that most of our chips are built overseas. Coming from a DoD perspective, almost impossible to get chips manufactured in the United States that need to go into U.S. weapon systems. I remember very clearly needing a specific chip, not a fancy chip, one that I could have bought for China for $30. But because we could not source chips out of China, it was not allowed for obvious reasons, I had to send that information to a contract specialist, and they had to put out a bid, and I only really needed like 3 chips. But you can't just buy 3, you have to buy 10 at least. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, right? But those 10 chips cost like $30,000 compared to having bought the chip from China for $28. Why? Because it had to be specially manufactured. There was no one here in the United States that could supply this simple chip. And this happens day after day after day after day. We are idiots. And having not maintained the ability to make chips within the United States. Cars being delivered are being delivered without features because they can't get chips. Because we're reliant on China and other countries to make our chips. If we did not learn anything from the pandemic, we need to learn that we can no longer be dependent on foreign countries for semiconductors. So I'm hoping that this $52 billion is well spent. And I don't care if these chip manufacturers are rolling in cash. It costs a lot of money to build chip factories. It's one of those things that we just need to have complete and absolute independence from. Now, if you're buying a TV, who cares where the chips are in it from, right? But at the same time, why? We are the most technologically advanced country in the world, and yet we require chips to come from overseas. It's pure madness, in my opinion. So I will be on board with this, and I hope the money is well spent. I hope it goes to the right companies. I hope they build a lot of chips that we can have here in the United States, and we can export to friendly countries of our choosing. I'm just, I keep my fingers crossed here on that. What say you? geeknews@gmail.com. Apple's reporting third quarter results. iPhone and services drive June quarter record revenue after installed base of devices reach all-time high. Apple posted June quarter revenue of $83 billion with, I believe, if I'm reading this operating statement correctly, with $19.4 billion in profit. So again, Apple rolling in the cash even with the slowdown. Intel CFO says we're on the bottom after company misses earnings and stock sinks. Intel slashes, here again, a chip maker. Intel slashes full-year guidance and turned in worse than expected quarterly results. The company launched new chips that compete with NVIDIA's graphics card during the quarter. And of course, we know what the story we just talked about. Earnings were 29 cents per share, adjusted versus 70 cents per share. Revenue of $15.32 billion versus $17.92 billion. Intel's revenue declined some 22% year over year in the quarter that ended. According to a statement, revenue missed consensus by 14%, the company's largest top-line disappointment since 1999, according to some investment data. It ended the quarter with a $454 million net loss compared with net income of $5 billion in the year ago quarter. Gross margins narrowed 36.5%. Listen to this. The sudden and rapid decline in economic activity was the largest driver of the shortfall, but quarter two also reflected our own execution issues in areas like product design and the ramp of AXG, Accelerated Computing Systems, and Graphics Group. He said Intel continues to deal with COVID-related supply shortages that have delayed product availability. Intel called for 35 cents in adjusted earnings per share on $15 billion to $16 billion revenue, and it lowered its full-year expectations. It now sees full-year adjusted earnings at $2.30 per share, revenue of $65 billion to $68. Previous was $76. So they say small and medium-sized business slowed down their computer purchasing, but the enterprises have been holding up. So tick-tock, tick-tock. And, of course, according to the latest reports, we are in a recession. Amazon, though, jumps on revenue beat and rosy guidance for the third quarter. They keep on ticking, keep on making money. Amazon shares climb more than 12%. They had revenue of $121.3 billion versus $119. But they did take a loss because they wrote their Rivian Rivian investment, they took another. Well, they've taken a total of 11.5 billion, but they took a 3.9 billion loss in this quarter. So Rivian continues just to gut their earnings, but everything else they seem to be doing very well, as one would expect. Hi, Baina. Thank you for saying hello. AMD did a boo-boo. They accidentally reveals its first Ryzen 7000 desktop processor. The early focus may be on gamer-oriented CPUs. So if you're an AMD fan, you don't have to wait until fall to have an idea what AMD's Ryzen 7000 desktop CPUs will be like. They accidentally posted it on a website that's no longer there. Link will be in the show notes for those of you that are interested in that. In Spain, national police say they've arrested 2 former government workers suspected. Now check this out. Listen to this. Spain's national police say they've arrested 2 former government workers suspected of breaking into the computer network of the country's radioactive alert system and disabling more than a third of its sensors. The intrusion happened between March and June of 2021. The 2 suspects worked for a company contracted by Spain's General Director of Civil Protection and Emergencies. According to the officers, investigators searched 2 homes and 1 company in Madrid and San Agustin de Guadalix and said they found numerous computers and communication devices related to the facts investigated. Why would they do this? Spain operates 7 nuclear reactors that generate 22% of the country's power. The RAR system is a network of 800 gamma radiation sensors deployed throughout the nation that monitor radiation levels and are used to generate alerts in case of excess levels. Each sensor's network reports its measure to a control center in the DGPCE headquarters, which sends commands to the individual sensors. Why would they do this? I do not get it. I really, really don't. So why are you disabling radioactive alert devices? Instagram users have spoken, and Instagram has backpedaled on full screen feed and recommended posts. I'm not on Instagram enough to even know what this is, but the company is reversing course on some changes after a significant backlash from users. So people weren't too happy. They weren't too happy at all. Following some backlash, they're walking back. Last month, Instagram started testing full screen display photos and videos. Head of Instagram, Adam Morrissey, told Platformer that tests would be wound down over the next couple of weeks. For the new feed designs, people are frustrated and usage data isn't great. So I think we need to take a big step back, regroup, and figure out how we want to move forward. In other words, we got it wrong. And it can happen to anybody. You roll something out you think is going to be cool, and bada bing, bada boom, it's not. Now, this is an interesting move here. Senate deal would revive EV tax credits for GM, Tesla, and Toyota. The Inflation Reduction Act would also offer credits for used EVs. Now, listen, this is big. Automakers been hoping for this EV tax credit extension. Senators Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin have reached an agreement on the Inflation Reduction Act to replace the 200,000 unit cap on federal EV tax credits with a system that restore those perks for GM, Tesla, and Toyota. The approach is a compromise that would switch to price income-based limits, drop union manufacturing requirements, and offer credits for used EVs. The act would provide $7,500 in credits for electric SUV trucks and vans priced up to $80,000, while cars would have to cost $55,000 or less. Individuals would have to earn no more than $150,000 per year, while couples could make up to $300,000. I think that covers about 90% of everybody. You would reportedly get up to a $4,000 credit for buying a used EV, although the income ceiling is said to be much lower. The agreement is expected to drop the union production requirement. There would still be incentives for domestic manufacturing. They expect to include $369 billion in climate and energy spending. Manchin had objected to the past proposal in part because he felt union requirement would favor incumbent American brands. More deals are still to come, and there's a chance the terms could change. If the Inflation Reduction Act passed as claimed, which is like 43, it's a big, that bill is like a big big, roll out the printing presses and print some more money. So again, here we go. Now, here's something interesting. Let me just throw this in here. This is on Financial Times. My good friends that live in the UK. West London faces new home bans as electricity grid hits capacity. Greater London Authority warns developers the upgrade might take more than a decade. Developers in West London face potential ban in new housing projects until, get this, 2035, because the electricity grid has run out of capacity to support new homes, jeopardizing house building targets in the capital. The three boroughs accounted for almost 5,000 homes in the 2019-2020 equivalent to 11% of London's housing shortage. New projects are being rejected because electric network in the area has hit capacity. That's happening here in Michigan. Barns are being denied being built in rural America. Businesses are being denied to be able to stand up because of lack of electricity. Okay, we got all these electric cars coming, which think they're cool. But will the grid support all this additional electric requirement? Someone told me the other day, as I made a post on Twitter, I was talking about how there are no chargers in this town that I live in. And here, there's one, and the closest one is 22 miles away. And he said, well, you can buy a home charger. I said, in most homes, rural, I'm talking rural, older homes have anywhere between a 75 and a 150 amp breaker box in their home. Yes, because they didn't need that much electricity when they were building these homes 80 years ago or 100 years ago. So what they're doing is, oftentimes, in order to put a charger, a car charger, and this was even true in my house in Honolulu, to put a car charger, and it was a modern house, only 10 years older. In order to have a car charger, I could not run the dryer. I could run the car dryer, could run the car charger, or the dryer. Dryer or car charger. Couldn't run them both, because if I run them both, blew circuit breaker. Not enough power in the house wired. So, okay, you do the laundry at 9 o'clock and you charge the car at midnight. I get it. But it's not as simple as everyone thinks. Yes, we're going to see more electric vehicles. But what happens when the grid shuts? I saw a meme a couple of days ago that said all electric cars need to be charged from renewable energy. You can't dictate that. But it's amazing that you can't build because there's not enough power. And it's happening here in the United States as well. Just a little bit information here. Spotify forks out $295 million for Findaway, Podsights, Chartable, and Sonatic in a financial disclosure. $295 million. That brings them up to about $1 billion in podcast company acquisitions. And they lost $149 million in the last quarter. So, yep, how's that working out for you? Google has postponed Chrome's third-party cookie bonfire yet again. Google says it needs more time to build and test its privacy-preserving ad tech, marketed as a privacy sandbox. So the AdBiz has delayed its previous plan to block privacy pilfering third-party cookies until 2024. This was supposed to go in effect in 2022. So it's been pushed. This has been pushed a couple of times. It pushed to 2023. Now it's been pushed to 2024. So I wonder if they're trying to avoid something else. The political atmosphere to sue for antitrust, maybe? That's a good question. The Philippines has logged on to Starlink for remote area internet services. The Philippines is considering SpaceX, The nation's 7,100 islands and 110 million souls has a policy of implementing free Wi-Fi in all public spaces so citizens can access digital government services and the economic opportunities of the internet. People there live on a system called load. Can you send me money for a load? Load my phone with credit so I can have internet. John E. Yai, recently appointed Secretary of the Philippine Department of Information and Communication Technology under the administration of newly elected President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos, thinks Starlink could speed things up. Now, that's another thing is crazy. We Philippines just elected the dictator that was run out of the country's son. So politics in the Philippines is woo-woo. But Starlink will bridge the digital divide in the country, especially in an archipelagic country like the Philippines, where laying fiber cables or establishing cell towers in mountain areas can be challenging. Or people just steal what's been buried. He said that, in truth, the government courted SpaceX, and Elon Musk-controlled company was encouraged to create a local entity. And they said that the government can afford this, the people cannot. And it's true, because the terrestrial equipment costs $599 and the monthly service is about $99. Those sums are out of the reach of the large majority of Filipinos who reside in the kind of locations that they imagine connecting these services to. In the provinces, and is basically very, very rural. Lucky if the electricity works. Lucky if you have clean running water, let alone internet. And most internet in the Philippines, again, is run off of mobile phones. When I lived in Guam, I actually invested in a small amount of stock in Philippine telecommunication companies. I made a little bit of money off it, and then I sold it. I wish I would have hung on to all of that. I would have done very, very, very well over the long haul, because that's everything in the Philippines is by sell, primarily. Okay, it's being reported we're likely only seeing the tip of the iceberg of the Pegasus spyware use against the U.S. So there was a House Intel committee, and it had a lot of questions on people on what was going on with this Pegasus. And of course, this Pegasus spyware is being used by governments and some to spy on people they shouldn't be spying on. So a good write-up on that. Link will be up in the show notes for you to check it out. Apple says Mac sales are getting hit hard by supply constraints, but iPhone revenue grew, of course. So they're basically saying supply issues are continuing to cause issues. This Mac revenues are down by 10%, a drop that Tim Cook attributed to supply chain constraints and an unfavorable foreign exchange rate. Well, what's going up in some countries is, believe it or not, the dollar is gaining value, even with the inflation going on. I was seeing some places in the Philippines and Thailand and other countries where the exchange rate was increasing. This is happening in Australia, Canada. So you would think American money would cost, you'd go further. I don't understand completely. So what is with that? It's contradictory to what Tim Cook said, at least in my opinion. Maybe it's different in China. I don't know. After 50 years of pioneering satellite imagery, NASA's Landsat is ready for 50 more. And Landsat 9 was launched in September, but Landsat is now at 50 years old. So, and many of us have probably seen Landsat pictures from NASA and so forth over the years. But 50 years since the first Landsat was launched. Do you like Hershey's chocolate? Shh. Hershey warns of a candy shortage, so there might be more tricks than treat around Halloween. So supply chain issues that come for the candy industry. Hershey's expects production to fall short of demand for Halloween and Christmas holiday seasons this year. Hershey lays part of the blame on scarcity of raw ingredients and difficulties securing suppliers. This is America, and we can't make chocolate? Think about that. Supplies of cocoa, edible oil, and other foods, basically a lot of stuff coming out of Ukraine, is in short supply. So get your candy now before there isn't any candy on the shelves, because most of us have a little sweet tooth that likes to get fed a little bit, right? NASA's twin Voyagers are nearly 45 years old and facing some hard decisions. They basically are about 4 to 5 years away from being in a position where they're not going to be able to produce enough energy to basically power the transmitter. The transmitter needs 200 watts to send the signal back to Earth. And so they say the radioactive isotope plutonium-38 is about half of what it was, because when it launched, it was capable of producing 450 watts, and now it's much, much lower. So they're shutting stuff off, as we've talked about in the past, and some of the equipment is running cold, and they're surprised it's still performing even without heaters. But no matter what's going to happen, it is a ticking time bomb, because the power will continue to diminish 4 to 5% a year, regardless of anything they do. There's not an infinite time of left. So 4 to 5 years, they think, and they might be able to get to 2030, maybe, if they really are constructive, but time will tell. The James Webb Space Telescope beat its own record with the potential most distant galaxies. And what they're saying here, talking about redshift, and I don't fully understand that, but they think they're seeing galaxies as they existed about 200 million years after the Big Bang. Hubble was able to see 420 million years back. So 420 million years from Big Bang. So redshift and a whole bunch of other stuff, and a lot of this has to be validated, but scientists are backflipping, really. That's what's going on here. Also, the U.S. Postal Service is going to launch a James Webb Space Telescope Forever stamp. And I wouldn't mind getting my hand on a few of these. And they're going to be available for pre-order on August 8th through the USPS online stamp store. Will be open for general sale on September 8th. And it's pretty exciting. It's nice to see that Webb Space Telescope is getting a stamp. Okay, so this is going to bring me very, very close to the end of the show. Don't you leave and go anywhere, because I have an email that came in. Yes, someone does love the show and is able to send in a comment. I thought I had it all queued up. What happened here, Todd? Okay, let me go over here and hit that. I got an email from Greg. Greg says, my family enjoyed Orville. It pokes a little fun at the Star Trek genre while still being good sci-fi. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing season 3 since we no longer pay for Hulu or Disney Plus. Yep, that's a challenge. I'm not saying that I share some logins with my kids, but my daughter pays for one thing, I pay for another. It kind of works out. We don't try to overload it and make it too crazy. But that can be, if you don't, and she lives on the West Coast, I live over here in Michigan, so it gets a little, you have to be careful not to abuse it too much, but maybe you can get access to it that way. Okay. Again, Fountain app, and start listening to the show on the Fountain app. Start earning Satoshis, and you can throw a few of those earnings my way, or transfer a few Satoshi. Again, Satoshis are like a millionth of a Bitcoin. So someone sent me like up to 50,000 Satoshis. I think that was like maybe $20 or something like that recently. But if you don't want to deal with that, it's very, very simple. You go to geeknewscentral.com/insider and you send me a PayPal. Sign up to $5, $10, $15, $20, or $25 a month, or make a one-time donation. Someone recently asked me for my Venmo or Cash App, and if you made a deposit, I didn't see it come in. I didn't see anything hit my checkbook, so I can't remember how that came in. It was either via Messenger or something, but if you want to donate via Venmo or Cash App, definitely drop me a note, and I'll be happy to provide that to you. Every contribution helps. It goes right into the show. Just understand, The show does have a business checking account. We have stuff tied to the business checking account. Doesn't go into Todd's personal checking account. So every penny that comes in goes to supporting the show and doing everything we do here. All right. It's been my pleasure to bring you a podcast today. I want to thank you for listening, and thank you for staying subscribed and being part of the family. We went a record time tonight, 56 minutes. Look what happens when I put the show together. I dug a little deeper today for content. But it's been my pleasure to bring you the podcast. I'll be back with you Monday. Have a show on Monday. There's going to be no show Thursday because I'm going to be down in Columbus. If you're in the Columbus area, I do have one free night, is Thursday night, that I could meet up with any listeners that are in the Columbus area. We're out on the edge of Westerville in Columbus. So if you're in that area within striking distance, drop me a note. Happy to meet up and have a beer, maybe some wings or something. But appreciate your all's ongoing support of the show. Again, after this, then the next travel will be out to, going to be out in Dallas. I'm going to be in Vegas, and I'm going to be in Atlanta. So there's going to be about a 2-week run where I'm out doing podcasting stuff. So just be aware of that. I want to thank you again all for your ongoing support. Let's see you next time. Everyone take care. Let's see if this is going to work this time. I'm out of here. Bye-bye. It didn't work. All right, let me see if I can get this to work. All right, here it comes. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.